Information security team at the U of A, which you may know is one of the best research intensive universities within Canada and is a top 100 in the world as well. He's a recipient of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee Medal for his notable contributions to cybersecurity industry, and he was recognized as a top 10 under 40 by the Canadian Security Magazine. He's got a handful of published CVEs to his credit. He's braved the world of startups as the chief security officer for an organization that was first to market, offering digitized legal services. And he's a co inventor on a patent pending, currently working its way through the US Patent and Trademark Office. When he's not working, he enjoys spending time with his kids and his wife and the family dog while he's making countless trips to the Lego store or waiting for it to arrive in the mail. Everybody, please join me in welcoming Michael.
That intro was written by ChatGPT. I just fed my LinkedIn profile into it and said, "Give me something," and that's kind of what it spit out. Well, awesome. Before I get into this, in case you were wondering, it says kids up there. If you don't have kids, that's okay. This talk is rooted about 2 years ago, and it really should just say a younger generation. I was just lazy to go through the slide deck and change the tense. One of my grad students, Lydia, is here. I didn't tell him to put her on the spot, but about half an hour ago, she was like, "Michael, I don't have kids, but I'm attending your talk." And I was like, "Okay, I taught you well, you rebel. Good work." So don't worry. Message for next time. Um, I've noticed some really interesting things. Obviously, I've built a whole career out of cybersecurity, but one thing that's missing from my intro is, in addition to all that stuff, I'm also an instructor. I teach at the U of A, so I teach an advanced network security course in one of our master's programs. And I've noticed in recent years, there's been some really what I would originally call odd, but they become normal interactions between younger generations coming into university who don't know life without the internet, interacting with what I'll say is a much older generation who's been there for some time that doesn't know much about the internet. And when you intersect them, things happen that are involving the cybersecurity team. Also, my bio is a little old. I'm not the manager of information security anymore. I have a new role now, principal security architect. But there you go. So before we get into this, just some minor housekeeping. I'm a big fan of using actual real scenarios in basically everything I do. So there's no hypotheticals, not theory, none of that stuff today. Everything I'm going to talk about are real, actual things that have happened that I can vouch for. But there are most likely people in this room, even though they've been anonymized, who know the finer details of some of the things I'm going to talk about. So if you know what I'm talking about, please respect the privacy of others. It doesn't mean you whisper to the person next to you, "Yeah, that was Bob in accounting." Haha. Don't do that. And I'm pretty sure this is being recorded, and we'll probably find its way on YouTube at some point. So I have that last one on here. There's a very small chance, someone in the audience might be one of the people that was on, that I'm going to be talking about. Um, if you out yourself, that's on you, okay? So if you stand up and you're like, "Actually, Michael, this is why I did all that," that's on you, okay? There's none of this, Michael talked publicly about someone he wasn't supposed to. This has all been vetted. It's just okay. So as I said earlier, this talk is actually it's one I did a couple years ago. Tess, in your talk, you made a comment about how there's no trees in Edmonton. Okay, I know where the trees are. They're in Banff, and I can tell you that because that's where I did this talk. Okay, so there was a talk in Banff about 2 years ago, and this was the theme of that conference with their logo. User permission: is the internet broken? And they encourage people to submit talks, talking about that from all these various perspectives. And I jumped on that and was like, "Oh yeah, I can talk about that." Like, let's look at it from my interactions with people, but being an instructor, teaching grad students, father of three, I have three kids. They're 12, 10, and 9. I can speak to it from some of the weird oddities. So this talk is rooted in that talk about 2 years ago, but it wasn't recorded. And I've always wanted to do it again, update it a bit with some new stories, and hopefully record it. So that's where we are. Let's get going. So my daughter, she's 10 years old. This is from 6 years ago. We were having dinner one night, and in her high-pitched little squeaky voice, she just bit out one night, "Mommy, what did you watch on Netflix when you were a little girl?" And we all kind of laugh and haha, funny, how adorable. To which my wife replied, "Oh, sweetie, we didn't have Netflix when I was little." And my 4-year-old daughter, without missing a beat, replied with 2 words, "Just YouTube?" And yeah, something broke in my brain. I don't know if it was good or bad, but this was 6 years ago, that is when I realized this interaction of our kids and younger generations with computers and technology is not a future state. It's a current state. It's happening right here. Up until that point in time, I always thought that, yeah, managing this is going to be me, logging onto a firewall, putting in application filters and reporting and boom, walk away. No, that doesn't really work with a 4-year-old. So I made a conscious effort to start actually paying attention to this a little bit. And one of the things that I want to talk about is this fun thing that we've encountered, just raising kids who do not know life without the internet, and what that means for a cybersecurity professional and risk management professionals. One thing I'm going to try to do today, I'm going to try not to use labels, millennials, Generation Z, Gen X, boomers. At the end of the day, we're all people, and maybe we have different contexts and experiences, but we're just different generations of people with different experiences. Again, you don't have to have kids. This should resonate. But I'm going to start with some of our fun interactions with students to really put this into context. I learned something very recently. I met somebody who recently talked to university students, and they said this line. They said, "How many of you remember Facebook in its heydays of like 2008?" And no one put up their hand. Like, these students, no one put up their hand. And then the speaker was like, "Really? Like, no one remembers that?" And someone said, "We were like 6 months old." And wow, so this is a very important part, because we talk about not remembering life without the internet. No, these are kids who don't remember life with Facebook. It's not like, I'm 38, so when I think about life without the internet, it's people who don't know what a floppy disk is and they don't know the dial-up tone. We are so far past that. Okay, now it's people who don't remember the heydays of Facebook, and you throw them into a university where all they know is internet memes and really fun things. Let's get started on some of these. How many of you have seen The Princess Bride? Yeah. So how many of you know this to be a fun common internet meme where, if you're going to introduce yourself, you don't introduce yourself as Render or Michael. My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Okay. So it's a famous line from that movie. Around the time that my daughter dropped her just YouTube line, life was grand. Security teams were dealing with firewall rules and viruses and education and awareness. And we get a ticket from a prof. And what had happened is this professor kind of, picked up on this too. He's like, my students, they want to communicate on the internet. So he did some research, and he started an internet forum, like just, what was the word I was looking for here? Like a message board. Okay. And one of the threads was introduce yourself, introduced all the students, just come in here, introduce yourself. Somebody introduced themselves with that line. "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die." And the prof reported it to us as a death threat. And yeah, it's a fun reaction. Some people go, "Whoa." Some people start laughing. I laughed, I'll be honest. I mean, I took that ticket, spread it through so many internal chats, and was like, "What the heck?" Ignore the unicorn that's falling over. Um, so I called the prof, not sure what to expect. And here's the catch. He was dead serious. Like, there was no playing around. He had learned a lot of this stuff. If you see something, say something. And that was him. He's like, "I don't know who this person is. I don't, they're not registered in my course, but there's someone giving death threats on my online forum. Please deal with it." And I had to explain to the gentleman, like, "Oh, it's a pop culture reference." And this is very important. We don't treat them as dumb. It's they don't know any better. It's an opportunity for education. And it was just explaining to this prof, like, "Hey, thank you. There's no risk here. I would much rather you appreciate, you report it and it be nothing than the opposite. Maybe tell your students, please just take this seriously." But that was weird, for lack of a better term. That was kind of my first real interaction with that. And honestly, I treated it as a one-off. And in the years that would come, it wasn't a one-off at all. It's become kind of common. How many of you know what Discord is? How many of you use Discord? Like, if you don't know what Discord is, it's just it's an online social platform. Anyone can spin up a Discord. There, it's IRC reborn. There you go. With Teams, it's basically all the stuff that we use separated in services nowadays. But students love this stuff. Okay, there are Discords for everything, everywhere. Thousands of people in it. Where was I going with this one? Yeah, okay. So it's insanely popular, and students make discords for everything. We had this was right before COVID. We had a prof reach out to us asking if we could shut down a Discord server that some of her students created, and the answer to that is no. We have no jurisdiction over Discord other than perhaps, impersonation and, people launching official stuff under the university branding when it's not. But in short, no, if a student decides to spin up a Discord for their class, we have no authority over that. We don't get involved in it. But the professor, the reason she wanted us to shut it down is because she was shocked that her students would use a platform that enabled pedophilia and was made for pedophiles. And we were like, "Sorry, what?" Like that was her thing, right? "Please shut this down because Discord's a platform for pedophiles. I don't understand why my students are using this. Please do something about it." And I asked her for, like proof of this or just give us some evidence. And it turns out like she had no idea what Discord was. She had heard that her students were creating a Discord. She went online and did some searching for Discord. And the resource she found was, not to politicize this at all, very what I'll say, specific type of website that basically said that. It didn't describe Discord as modern IRC or TeamSpeak. It was like, no, Discord is a platform for pedophiles. And that was it. That's what she thought it was. Okay, pedophiles, why are they using this? So I had to, again, call her up and explain, like, okay, hold on, with all due respect, like, sure, but, I had to explain what Discord is and what it was and highlight the fact that sure, pedophiles, yeah, they're in our communities, they're in our churches, they're in our neighborhoods, they're in our schools, they're in here, they're in there. But that's not what Discord is. Like it's not a platform for that type of content any more than any other online platform is, right? And she said thank you. She was very happy to hear that. And the last thing she said, she wrote down, "Now I have to go apologize to my students for going all crazy ant on them." And I was like, okay, that could have been an interesting one. But again, we have these fun intersections of students who just, to them it's common, normal. Let's just spin up a Discord. Let's just introduce ourselves with memes. And an older body kind of going, oh, what's going on here? Um, this is a fun one in the worst possible way. How many of you back this happened on Discord? We had a male student engage us who just from the get-go, the word is demanded, that's the word, demanded that we investigate the actions of a female student. Regardless of what we find that female student guilty of whatever his demands were, and then we release the results of that investigation to the male student. No. No, never. We're not doing that. Okay. First and foremost, yes, we can do certain types of investigations, but we just don't do them for anybody. There's processes that people have to follow to start something. Pro tip: they don't typically start with us. We're usually in there somewhere. They usually start with like our protective services, our law enforcement, our peace officers. And so I'm like, okay, like there's accusations here and whatnot. I have no idea what's going on. But we respond and we just say, here's the process to get that done, right? You need to go through our protective services group. If there has been something, there has been some type of harassment or abuse or whatnot, fine. They're the ones that deal with it. They do the risk assessment. They will involve us. So for interpretation and investigation of the technology components, we release the results to them and the process works its way through. And the student said, no, that's bureaucracy. I deal with that bullshit. No, do your work. What? That, huh? Like I'm willing to admit that maybe I'm reading this wrong and deriving emotion where there is none or something. But they wouldn't go away, and we kept saying like you can get help, but this is the process, and they wouldn't listen. They started mail bombing us. They started spam calling our service desk, and finally, I just said, okay, fine, like. I'm not going to investigate this, but what are you complaining about? Like, give us some details and maybe I can bring it to protective services. To summarize, here's what happened. On Discord, a non-U of A Discord, male student reaches out to female student through Discord and says, hey, I have tickets to a local event. Do you want to come with me? And the female student says, no, thank you. Male student says, oh, okay, well, if you ever want to hang out, just let me know. Female student says, no, thank you. Male student says, oh, well, we have this one course together. I'm really good at the subject matter. If you need a tutor or something. I'm here to help. And she says, no, thank you, and blocks him. And turns out nothing else happened for like 3 months until one day the male student gets a direct message on Discord from the female student that was very clearly a phishing attack designed to steal his credentials. Okay. It takes us half a second to look at this and realize her account is compromised. That's how these attacks happen. They compromise the account. They find all of their contacts. They unblock everybody, and they just spam these phishing links. Um, hoping that someone will get lucky and they'll click and they'll get more credentials. So we explain this to the male student and just say, hey, like the most realistic thing that happened here is this. She was compromised. That's why you got the DM. She probably doesn't even realize this has happened. Flat out refused to listen to us. No way. He was insisting his life is at risk, his property is at risk, his this is at risk, that's at risk. Deal with this. She's vengeful. She's out to get me now. And finally I said, okay, fine, but you have to go through protective services. And then he said one of my favorite things you can possibly say to us, and that is this fun line: both of my parents are lawyers. Do I have to sue you to get you to do your job? The reason I love that line is because that's a threat, and now I have no obligations to deal with it. And we pass it to the Dean of Students office, because we have one of those at the U of A, and they have a whole crisis intervention team. Never heard from the guy again. And yeah, you know, just weird. And when some things I kind of skipped over was like, it's not a University of Alberta Discord, right? It was created for like one of the classes, but same thing. Oh, it's got university logo and branding, therefore it's you guys. And I was like, no, it's not. Um, but that was kind of disturbing to an extent, because I guess it's probably the memory that sticks out. But we're dealing with a lot of this stuff more and more. Um, yeah, and the reason I have rejected up there is just it doesn't handle rejection well. How many of you guys know Twitch? Okay, one of the funniest things about Twitch, if you actually read Twitch's branding, I had to read through it to use this logo. They literally state verbatim, when you explain our product, people probably aren't going to understand it. So it's if you don't know what it is, it's an online platform primarily used to stream video games. So you go on your computer, you sign into Twitch, you start playing Counter-Strike, and people will watch you play Counter-Strike. Oh my gosh. One of the fun things that we have, just a tip if you're not doing this, the security team at the U of A, we have a whole bunch of like external feelers out there that go off, so to speak, when they find certain piece of information. One of them are keyword searches on Pastebin. And if you search for, if people make public posts on Pastebin that have certain keywords in them, we will get an alert for those. And we're constantly tweaking them. And we got a really interesting alert. It basically said, here's a paste that matches ualberta.ca, like at ualberta.ca. And it was filled with what I can tell you right away is someone's being doxxed, right? It's filled with social media handles. It's filled with contact emails. It's filled with phone numbers. And my immediate reaction to that is, oh crap, our systems are compromised. Right, like that's my first thought. Never mind the person at this point. Where did they get this information from? So I have quite a deep bit of visibility into our university people systems, and the first thing I do is I go look and I check to see, is what we have authoritative the same as what's on here. Thankfully, no. What we had and our authoritative systems did not match any of the doxed stuff. So I'm thinking, okay, they didn't get information from us. But I pull up the social media feeds, and yeah, like, I don't know if you've ever dealt with someone, very early stages of being doxxed. Not exactly what I thought I would see, but she had like an Instagram account. Turns out it was a U of A student, right? She had an Instagram account, and somebody had ordered her like 20 pizzas, and there was a picture of her standing behind these pizzas with this big, thing on her face, being like, "Yay! One of my viewers ordered me pizza," and I'm like, "No, I don't think that's a good thing." Um, Went and looked at her Twitch feed, and this is not so much of an explicit part of the conversation, but I'll say this: she was very well endowed. She knew that, and that was part of her online brand, right? And she intentionally highlighted certain physical assets in order to build out a community. And this was prevalent in her Twitch streams. It was prevalent on the Instagram posts. It was prevalent in Twitter. And I'll be honest, my immediate reaction was, "Oh, damn it. Like, now I got to deal with like this type of personality, really?" So called up the phone, picked up the phone, called the number that we had, like that we knew to be sure. And you know who picked up? her mom picked up, and her mom was scared. You could hear it in her voice. It was just a very timid hello, I think someone had been calling them and whatnot, and I explained, who I was and what I do, and I used her daughter's like real full name, and she jumps on the phone, and again, I'll never forget this. She was scared. She was very much just like, hello? And like, "Who is this?" Again, I explained what I did, built some trust, and I told her what was happening, right? She never heard of being doxxed. Told her where the pizzas kinda came from, why this is happening to you, what you can do about it, here's some advice, here's how we can help. And she was completely happy, very thankful. She said she'll go and, write the report. She has to report this too and whatnot. And, the thing that I'm getting at though is two completely separate personalities here, right? There's this online persona used to build out a community, and then there's the actual real live human being. And because so many people only ever see this, they just see what gets posted to social media. I think that oftentimes they forget that there is an actual real human being over here. And sometimes you can do stuff that terrifies them. And there's this sort of this disconnect. And we're seeing this more and more and more, right? We're seeing more and more. We saw it a lot with COVID, with students who have done an entire 3 years of high school, 4-year degree online, because that's how long COVID was, right? Or vast majority of it. And we're starting to see more and more situations where students are, kind of they're not having the personal interaction, not having the face to face. Everything's done through computers and typing, and they're losing a lot of that. I don't know what the word is, just respect for each other. And the interesting thing is when I sit down and I talk to my own students about it, many of them are oblivious to what it is that I'm talking about and what's going on, and they're often very remorseful. They're very apologetic. They didn't mean to come off that way. They didn't realize what was happening. They didn't realize how they were making other person feel. And then I can incorporate that into some of my coursework. But that was just, again, odd. You wouldn't expect a security team to be involved in that, but we absolutely are. I used some AI in this talk because I wanted to. So I love spaceships. I love aliens. I love sci-fi. I'm wearing a custom Star Trek themed jacket. It's pretty sweet. And a few years ago, someone engages us wanting to know why the U of A is doing research on aliens. And I'm like, oh, I'm biting. Like, what? Sweet. I generally know some of the fun stuff happening here, but this one, you've piqued my interest. So I respond, and I'm just asking them, just for the details, right? What faculty, what department, whatever. And surprisingly, they responded in like 10 minutes, and they gave me some names of some people and whatnot. And I'm like, they have nothing to do with alien research. What the heck? So I go back and forth. And this actually happens for about an afternoon, right? You kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then in one of their emails, they mentioned a country, a specific country, and that's when it all clicked. They didn't mean aliens in the context of space aliens. They meant aliens in the context of foreigners from other countries. Why is the U of A doing research with people from a country that I despise? And I reread through the whole email chain from that context and was like, oh crap. Like, just by fluke, it worked. It worked for my space aliens. Awesome. And they're being like, this guy's going to help us. Awesome. And immediately, oh crap, disengage, mentioned it to our CISO. I was like, Gordy, I kind of screwed up. We don't need this to be an event. But oh, by the way, props to ChatGPT for coming up with that. I literally just explained the story in like 3 sentences, and that's what it spit out. And then I just, yeah, isn't that kind of creepy? Like, this is me using MS Paint to just cut the image in half. So yeah, wait to see the next one. But this is something that is actually becoming more frequent, and it's new enough that I'll talk about it, but not one that I really have solutions for. How am I doing time wise? Okay, I gotta pick it up a bit. So yeah, but I'm also the one before dinner, so I gotta hurry up. All right, we're getting there. So we are getting more and more involved in these. This is the part where I can't go into details for anything. I'm not going to risk it. But some of these more political strife that is happening throughout the world right now, we're getting them. I'll talk very briefly about one that happened like a week ago. Email from a random person on campus saying, this person is saying things I disagree with. It's making the university look bad. As per this policy that forbids such things, please disable their account. what? I'm I don't want to turn this into a discussion about free speech or hate speech or anything like that. That is not for us to decide. But this was very recent, and up until now, there's been a lot of like we have the authority and the expertise to make decisions and can do stuff, but some of these types of things we don't, and we're intentionally backing away from them because I don't want to be that person that makes that decision about what is considered appropriate speech and what isn't. And in many cases, it's just two people with just differing opinions on something. And the one just goes, well, you know what? You're making us look like a fool. So I'm going to have the security team turn off your account. That'll show them. And no, no. So this is very early. It's with our CIO, and she's currently working on bringing like more of this risk stuff to other parts of the organization that deal with like our risk management strategies, letting them know that, it's not just physical protesters. It's not just this. It's not just that. It's hitting all aspects of our life where people are now actually trying to get our security teams to go disable accounts when someone is in disagreement. So um, I was on a panel earlier on mental health, and I threw this one into ChatGPT. I tried to get it to show me a fun thing about mental health. There you go. I don't know, it's a little creepy, but I felt that does a really good job of what I want to transition to here. As the internet, becomes more popular, and politics become more popular, and conspiracy theories become more popular. Now, don't get me wrong, I love me a good conspiracy theory. Okay, I'm not gonna preach that humans have never been to the moon or nothing, but I don't mind sitting back reading on some of the crazy stuff out there. But one of the things that we have dealt with way more than I care to admit is this idea that the government is spying on us, and there are people who I'm going to label it as paranoia. They have been engaging us, and they insist that the government's spying on me. The university's entirely compromised. It's this big giant conspiracy. Somehow they've unraveled the whole thing, and only they know about it. And they bring it to us to deal with. And we kind of look at this, and it's like if someone's like, "Hey, the university's compromised," yeah, we'll take it seriously. We'll look at it. But we've become, I'd say, quite good at identifying what has actual legitimacy to it versus what is truly it's a mental health thing, just manifesting itself as some type of paranoia. I can deal with this. I'm not equipped to deal with this, right? So again, back to our Dean of Students and the crisis intervention team, we've been getting to know each other quite well over recent years because, and I'll talk about some of these examples. We had a gentleman who insisted that he was compromised and insisted the government had hacked his laptop and was spying on him. And to prove this to us, he sent us a bunch of logs that told us very clearly, like, that's not what any of these logs mean, but okay. So he wiped his laptop, factory reinstalled with a Microsoft image, and then went and downloaded like 4 or 5 of those highly questionable antivirus scanners you find online. Scanned, they all found each other. And he's like, see, fresh install. All these security products are lighting up. I'm hacked. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you explain this? And we basically, said this is not a cybersecurity thing. Here's the missteps in logic there. Go away. And he went away. He went away for a few weeks until I get an email from a completely valid, legitimate cybersecurity company who we all know. I'm not going to say their name. They know me. Kind of saying, hey, Michael, we have a reach out from someone at the university. They claim that you guys have been thoroughly compromised, but they can't say how much. They've engaged us, and they want to use our incident response services and perhaps buy some of our products. When can we start this engagement? And I was like, what? Huh? So like forward me everything you have. So I'm looking at the communications, and sure enough, it was the same individual who was like, hey, I'm hacked and all this stuff. So I had to reply and be like, sorry, this person does not represent the business interest of the university. Nothing's going on here. This is a mental health thing. We're passing this off to Dean of Students. And I love their response. No offense to the vendors, but I love the response. Their response was literally, okay, understandable, but now that I have your attention, any interest in further discussion? And I was like, respectfully, no. I I have other stuff to deal with, but I love the I get it. I would do the same thing in your role. But unfortunately, these are not one and dones. I can't give names, I can't give details. There's probably about 5 or 6 other things I could bring up from this one individual that spans over a year. And This is a whole other conversation that I don't have much advice on other than observing that it's out there. But there are so few supports for people who are genuinely suffering from some type of psychosis or paranoia, and they are constantly engaging us, and we're constantly trying to get them help and support that is outside the realms of technical support that we can provide. And it doesn't seem to really go anywhere. One thing, also another thing that happened too is we got a random vulnerability scan from some random company online. We have 130,000 public IPs, and they scanned like 10 of them, and they found a system that responded on 443. That's HTTPS, and they were like, "You guys have no firewall because the system responded on TLS." Ha ha ha. And we were like, "We have like 100+ firewalls. What are you talking about? The system's supposed to be exposed to the public." So we started kind of looking down that organization, and we found ways to tie it into that individual who had still been engaging us months prior, and they were still going down this path of there's something right or something wrong at the university. And it's interesting because like sometimes people will do that, but they'll do it rightfully so. And it's just a matter of getting a hold of someone who has the expertise in a certain area, such as myself, to actually validate what they're saying. But that's not one of these cases. So now that we're all crazy depressed, we've got a few minutes. I do love Lego. If you're in the mental health topic, you learn that. This is the nice happy slide to get us all into a better state. The Lego Movie 2, there's a really great song in there where they say everything's not awesome, but that doesn't mean that it's hopeless and bleak. So this is the part where I'm going to transition briefly into what can we actually do about this. So number one, try to be actively involved in our kids' lives. I'm going to transition a little bit more into my personal life with my own kids here. Be actively involved in their digital lives. One of the common questions that I get from parents is, Michael, how do I control my kids' access to the internet? And my answer is, from where? Like, you can put every restriction you want at home, but they're just going to go to like Bobby the neighbor's house, or they're going to go to school, or they're going to the library. Like I'm a much bigger proponent of being involved in their life and context and showing them what, walk beside them. Don't try to stop them from doing stuff. I have this conversation with people all the time. They're like, should I block this or block that? I'm like, sure, in your own house, but they're still going to be exposed to it at some point over here. So I'm not saying don't expose them, but be there with them when they're present. It also doesn't mean friend them on Facebook, or sorry, Instagram. Facebook's not cool anymore. It doesn't mean that you have to go in there and like their statuses and anything like that, but just be aware of what services they use. What else do they have here? If they play games, like my kids, half the games that I play because my kids learn about them at school. It's the only reason I play Minecraft. Okay, we have a couple Minecraft servers, creative one and survival one, and they're 5 years old. And if you want to see what 3 kids and their dad can build out over Minecraft servers that have 5 years behind them, it's insane. But I never would have got into it if the kids didn't come home one day and be like, "Can we play Minecraft?" I'd be like, "Sure, okay." I mean, I know what it is, but things like that. So just be involved. When my kids say, "Daddy, what are you doing?" and I say, "I'm upgrading my computer," and they say, Can I help?" I go, "Absolutely." I mean, now you're not going to put the $2,000 video card in, but you can screw the fan in, and they're quite happy with that. They like going to Memory Express. I'm like the happiest dad on the planet. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like, where are you going? Memory Express. I'm like, Memory Express. Don't tell your mother. But just be open and honest. Another one. This is, oh man, I love this. Pay attention to what they say. Be inquisitive, not dismissive. This is being recorded. It's going to end up on YouTube. Someone's going to watch this, and I don't want to say their name, so I'm not going to. But there is someone in my kids' family life who, when my oldest says something like, "Hey, I totally did this thing in Minecraft, and I built this and I built that. Do you want to see it?" The person replies with, "Oh, I don't even know what that means. Go play downstairs and let the adults talk." That is so insanely dismissive to that child, because that child has learned about something really interesting. They want to come to you. They want you to see it. The answer is absolutely. I have no freaking clue what that means. Come show me, right? And then the years go by and they question, why do the kids not want to interact with me anymore? It's like, well, think about that. But pay attention to what they say and be inquisitive. Daily commentary from my kids, actual stuff that they have said. We won't go through all of these. It's only hacking if you change something. I'm not quite sure where they got that from, but here we are. I saw something funny on YouTube today. Okay, that is crazy. If you're not from Canada, our money is very shiny and bright and colorful, right? They showed me a video that they found with their friends. This is the video. I'm not kidding you. It's like a GoPro mounted on some dude's head, and it's this. And he's walking around a music conference, and he's tapping people on the shoulder, and he's offering them something, and they open their hands, and he drops a condom into their hands in like a square fancy purple wrapper. And then he's recording their reactions, which are usually, negative and disgust. My kids have no idea what a condom is. You know what they thought that was? They thought it was a $50 bill. And they were like, why doesn't anybody want the money? I would totally take that, right? And like that's the kind of stuff that someone was showing them at school, which they thought was hilarious. So they brought it home and we found the video on YouTube, and I was like, oh my gosh, don't tell your mother. Right? Fly that. You guys have heard Big Chungus? Okay, so you know the term Big Chungus. Okay, it's just a comically oversized who's the rabbit? Bugs Bunny. Okay, so we were playing Warcraft 3, fun video game, and part of this game, you can get a big giant dragon if you have enough money. My youngest saved enough money and bought the dragon, right? As me and my oldest were fighting some enemy computers. And my oldest says, fly that Big Chungus over here. I was like, where did you hear that? And he's like, I made it up. No, you didn't. You're not in trouble. It's just one of the things that we've learned is that my oldest, a lot of his friends are the youngest. So even though he's now in this happened when he was in grade 5. His friends, they were the youngest who had teenagers and young adult siblings. So this is happening now. We're seeing this, right? Someone who's 19 years old will make a comment to the 17-year-old, which will get overheard by the 12-year-old, which comes to school to the oldest 12-year-old, which comes to the 6-year-old, and I hear it, right? Haha, that guy got yeeted. Okay, yeah, cool. We can skip some of the. Oh, Daddy, I searched you on Google today. I was not expecting that one. I was like, what did you find? And they said, oh, a bunch of computer stuff we didn't understand. And I was like, did you watch any of it? No. I was actually like, I don't know, for some reason, I was like, yeah, they probably showed all Daddy's YouTube videos on his talks at school, and realized, no, that's not all what they, yeah. One day they've met you, and don't worry. But some of these fun ones though, stop trying to see my password. They will. I've taught them password security at the youngest age. Okay, they will not share their passwords with anybody. In the bottom right there, Daddy, she didn't lock her computer. My kids tell on each other when they don't lock their computers. Okay, if you haven't seen our basement, you've got my computer here, and I can just look over and I can see they have 3 gaming computers I built for them. I've taught them the importance of locking their computers. I will call them back in off the trampoline to lock their computers. And just simple, basic things. This other one here, I just started a game. Can I finish? Okay. I was like a teenager when World of Warcraft came out. I know what it's like to have my parents say, just pause it, and then not understand you can't pause a game that 10,000 other people are playing at the same time. So what I've done with my kids is a lot of modern video games now, they penalize leaving. Right? If you're going to play a game, you're going to commit to that game, and you're committing to 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes. And if you leave early, you get penalized. I've told my kids now, like, dinner is at 5 o'clock every day. You know that. You know how long it takes to start a game. Okay. I have had to say to my 12-year-olds the following words: I don't care if you get put in leavers queue, you're eating dinner with us. And then I've pulled the plug on the Ethernet cord, and he goes into leavers queue, and that's been being penalized. But I can emphasize with that, right? I can at least give them some guidance and say, you know how long a game takes, 15, 20 minutes. You can do math. By the way, if you want to teach your kids how to do math on a clock, this is how you do it. They will learn very quickly when incentivized like that. Anyways, last one I got here. Another one, guidance, not control. I heard the statement and I love it. Today's technology is the worst version the younger generations are going to use, right? Many of us are older. We're sitting here going, oh, this AI thing is crazy. These new video games are crazy. This is crazy. Ray tracing is crazy. My youngest is 9, man. He's going to look back at this in 30 years and be like, I can't believe we use that janky garbage. Like we all do it in our retrospective, right? So I'm of the opinion that I don't try to control what they do. I just try to provide some guidance and be there with them and build out that trust. Why are we restricting it, right? One of the things that I've been looking for, and I'll throw it out to the audience to maybe help with this. If I say the words, look both ways before you cross the street, every single person in this room knows what that means. Right? We don't have to go into the context of streets and cars and getting hit and running over. But if you were to say that to someone in the 1800s, they're going to look at you and be like, the hell's a street? not literally, but the idea is not there. I went down some research to make sure I could confidently state that. But the whole point is cybersecurity. We don't really have that. We don't seem to have this one nice catch-all command or phrase that we can just say to somebody that allows them to, I get what you're saying. We don't have that equivalent. I've been searching for one. Maybe we're just too young of an industry to find it yet. But again, guidance, not control. Last one, and then we're done here. It is perfectly fine to have younger generations. Does anybody know what is a skibidi toilet? Skibidi toilet? Skibidi toilet? I don't know what. Yeah, I'm stopping because I don't know what the hell it is, and I wish I didn't after my kid showed me. Just Google it later. This is one of the most fascinating things. Is the only reason I know what the cool lingo is in schools nowadays is because my kids bring it home, and just let them teach you. Like, what is that? What'd you hear about it? Where's it from? They learn about stuff, and I have a story, but I'll cut it short because we got a few minutes left here. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Reverse mentoring. It's okay to let a younger generation tell us. I've learned more about video game exploits from my 12-year-old than I ever thought I was gonna ever learn, and that's a whole other story. He's not hacking online. Don't worry, it's a different type of exploitation. But yeah, so back to this: is the internet broken? I don't know. Maybe not. From my perspective, it's absolutely enabled some really, really neat, interesting things. It's enabled some really terrible, dark, consequential things. But I am optimistic. I think with these younger generations coming on board, if we sit down and we listen, we learn, and we teach them, they're willing to listen as well. So that's it. There's my references so people don't sue me. And here's a thank you. You got 2 minutes. Any questions? I wasn't sure how that fit into a cybersecurity conference, so I kind of, winged it. Yeah, Render.
I've dealt with a number of cases similar to I've dealt with a number of cases of people whose paranoia has gotten the best of them. They insist something is happening that very clearly is not. Uh, how much are you finding that it's because people don't understand the technology they're using? It's this magic box that
Oh yeah,
stuff goes in, things come out,
yeah.
and they draw from that conclusions that are completely wacko.
I don't think it's any one thing. I think it's a combination of multiple things that may or may not be specific to any one person. To your comments there, with a younger generation, one thing that I have learned is many of them know how to use technology, but they don't know how it works. Right? Someone can take a photo of something, they can put a filter on it, upload it to Instagram, and suddenly be depressed. But as soon as you say C:\/ program files, you get this stare of like, what the hell are you talking about? Right? So I think part of that is there is part of it. I mean, this is more the political side, but I have also learned that I hate doing this, but sometimes if I don't know what's the term, grandstand, credential dump, explain my professional expertise, people are willing to listen to an expert in a certain area, and with a very reasonable, unbiased and non-confrontational, non-judgmental view, they will slowly learn differently. But also a lot of it is tied into, I think, reinforcement, right? Is one thing we have learned is that the people that are saying, "Oh, I'm being hacked by the government," they're not alone in that, right? They're online in forums, they're online with other people, they're part of communities that also believe that. One of the it's such a funny statement, but one of the things I read was there are communities out there that pretend stupid things exist. Okay, there's a community on Reddit called Birds Aren't Real. It's a joke community, okay? It's not actually to be taken literally, but it's just a joke community that claims that birds are not real, they're robotic government spies. But there are people who find this community who then believe it's real. And the phrase that I learned, it was like, the problem with pretending to be idiots is that eventually you'll be surrounded by actual idiots who think they're in good company. And that's always stuck in the back of my head. So part of it is also, who are you talking to? Who are you listening to? What is the source of authority here? Yeah. Yeah, purple shirt. Yeah.
You said your children are 9, 10, and 12. Are they on social media, and have you had to have the talk with them yet?
No, no
Okay.
cell phones, no social media. We did buy like a family phone, not like the plug-in phone. It's just an iPhone, just so they can communicate with my wife and I throughout the day. But no social media. But it is absolutely like a request. My daughter asked if she can play Among Us, and I said no just because it's a game that's first off, there's a lot of unneeded interaction with random people I don't want you to have at your age, and it's a game that teaches deception, and that's not really something I want you to experience now, anyways. But no, you know what they love? They love YouTube. Like, they don't have Instagram, they don't have Facebook, but at this age, they're already talking about YouTube channels. And if I sit there and listen in the kitchen, while they're on the trampoline, they're talking to each other about, oh, when I turn 13, because that's what the EULA says, I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and it's going to have this and that. And then they will come inside, they will grab the cell phone, they'll hit video, and they'll watch each other like just do flips on the trampoline, because my daughter's moment in time thing will be, I'm going to have a trampoline flipping channel. But yeah, YouTube, huge, huge. The other thing that I've noticed, since I have the attention, you can ask them, who's your favorite YouTuber? They'll probably have one. Like, they will say like Mr. Beast or something like that. They don't have favorite celebrities. They don't have favorite hockey players. They have favorite YouTubers now. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to judge it publicly, but I'm going to sit there and be interested in it on the side. So I don't know if that answers your question, but YouTube, yes. The rest, no.
Just curious. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Yeah. It's literally a red iPhone SE2. It's red intentionally for when they drop it. It's way easier to find on the ground than a black one. It just stays plugged in with their Chromebooks, and they're not allowed to use it, like, unless we're out of the house. So they know. And like, when my wife and I go for a walk, it's actually the funniest thing, because we'll get text that it's just, remember, it's one phone, but there's 3 kids fighting over it. So it'll be like, I was called a dum dum. I didn't say that. Yes, you did say that. I did not call you a dum dum. Yeah, because you're a dum dum. And my wife will be like, leave us alone. Like let us go for a walk. Yeah. But that's all it is, and like the oldest, so he's 12, he's got a lot more freedom than the other two. If he's going somewhere like a school event, like, we'll give him the phone. Just take it, put it in your pocket. It's just a method to communicate with us, but it's locked down. They can't install apps. They have no games on it, things like that. So, yeah.
I was just going to ask about that. Like, I've been kind of thinking about these things, and I'm like, I kind of agree with that policy. Like, I don't know if kids exactly should have phones at a young age.
Yeah.
And something that I was reading, like, as a counter argument, is what about the fact that a kid will be isolated if they don't have access to social media, they don't have access to their own phone. Like, what's your
Sarah, the first thing that went through my head was, my kid says the word big chungus, he's isolated already. So, I mean, follow me for unorthodox parenting tips. If my kids are up here in 10 years doing cybersecurity talks, I've been a successful parent. That's a good point. So for me, this is strictly Michael, the parent, speaking. I couldn't care less about things like that. I grew up in a family where, like, my friends would have shoes that were more expensive than my entire outfit. So part of it is teaching our kids, be nice, be kind, respect diversity, whether that's everything from the food you eat, the songs you sing, the language you speak, what your body looks like, and try not to get caught up in, be happy with what you have, right? One of my favorite stats that I give back to my kids is the fact that you live in North America. You're already in the top like 10% of wealthy people on the planet, right? And we often try to I was born in Africa, by the way. I have a whole history with a family that does a lot of support in Africa. So that's I'm skipping over some stuff, but it's taught me a lot growing up, which I now reflect on my kids, right? Is if somebody were to say, oh, well, Bob has a phone. I was like, yeah, but Bob doesn't have a $1,200 gaming computer. Not that, it's my old one, not that I wouldn't have bought that. But it's just some of those perspectives, right? Sure, they probably have a better phone. This family's better off. One of the ways that I've really learned this, our kids, they always ask random questions. They said, are we rich? They just came home one day and said, are we rich? And I was like, what do you mean by rich? Like, do we have a lot of money? I was like, so mommy and daddy have enough money not to worry about money, but we still have to make decisions about how we spend it. We're not like that family over there that goes to Europe every other month and has like a yacht and not a helicopter, but we're also not really struggling either, right? So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but kind of the root of it is, keeping up with the Joneses, and if they have it, they don't have it. I'm trying my best at this young age to instill in them, what is it? The obsessive compulsive disorder has been renamed obsessive comparison disorder. Just stop comparing yourself to others and just be happy with what you have. And I'll try my best to provide that at the expense of talking about them at conferences. Yeah. I got emotional at the end there. Wow. Okay. Good. All right. I'm sticking around for the VIP talk. So for dinner. So I'll be here.